What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm your host, Rome, joined by Dev.
Hey, what's up?
Dev, what's going
on? Tired as usual.
You know, I'm not tired today.
Yeah, you were hot when I came in.
I'm on fire today, man.
Yeah.
The Eagles have signed Saquon Barkley. Giants fans are...
upset?
That's putting it lightly. Look, man, Giants fans are struggling. They're having a rough day. Like, I totally understand where Saquon's coming from. You know, get the hell out of New Jersey. Why would you want to be in New Jersey? Like, that's how I always look at it. So yeah, I'm happy. Saquon's here, and I'm good to go. So, you know, with that being said, we have a really interesting show today. Not the show I was anticipating us doing today. The number 2 in the headlines was what I thought was going to be the main topic, but unfortunately, here we are. Let's get right into it. Number 1 in the headlines. We lost a cornerstone of pop culture, of culture in general.
Yeah.
This past week. Akira Toriyama has passed away. The following is written by Game Informer. I thought this was a really well written by them, so I figured I would share it. Famed manga artist and Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama has passed away. He was 68. The news broke early Friday morning in a public... I think it was Friday, right? Yeah, Friday. In a public letter by Toriyama's manga studio, Bird Studio. Bird revealed in a letter posted on the official Dragon Ball Twitter account that Toriyama died on March 1st of acute subdural hematoma. A private funeral service was held, and the studio had asked fans to respect the privacy of Toriyama's family. The full letter is as follows. Dear friends, we are deeply saddened to inform you that manga creator Akira Toriyama has passed away on March 1st due to subdural hematoma. He was in age of 68. It's our deep regret that he still had several works in the middle of creation with great enthusiasm. Also, he would have many more things to achieve. However, he has left many manga titles and works of art to this world. Thanks to the support and so many people around the world, he has been able to continue his creative activities for over 45 years. We hope that Akira Toriyama's unique world of creation continues to be loved by everyone for a long time to come. We inform you this sad news with gratefulness for your kindness during his lifetime. Funeral service was held with his family and very few relatives. Following his wishes for tranquility, we respectfully inform you that we would not accept flowers, condolences, gifts, visiting, offerings, and others. Also, we ask you to refrain from conducting interviews with his family. Future plans for commemorate gatherings have not been decided. We will let you know when it's confirmed. We deeply thank you for your understanding and support as always. Akira Toriyama was born in 1955 and became a manga artist at 23, primarily known for his works in the weekly Shonen Jump. For works such as Dr. Slump, his biggest claim to fame would be Dragon Ball. First published in 1983, Dragon Ball would explode into a cultural phenomenon, spawning a massively popular multimedia franchise with multiple manga volumes, a successful long-running anime, several films, and a litany of merchandise. Dragon Ball has become one of the most influential mangas of all time, and would also become a massive fixture in video games, with dozens of titles across a variety of platforms. Upcoming games based on Toriyama's work include Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the next entry in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, Sandland, an action RPG launching on April 26th based on his 2000 manga. Toriyama would also lend his distinct art style to video games such as Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, and Blue Dragon. So it's kind of impossible to sit and discuss like the magnitude that Akira Toriyama has had on culture.
It's a lot,
and we're gonna attempt to, but it's like it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like, because you could do a whole podcast just about the topic of how Akira Toriyama has affected culture, or like where his like the references from his work.
I've made friends who don't even speak English is not their first language.
Yeah.
Because we watched Dragon Ball Z in our countries, like growing up. Like Dragon Ball Z was everywhere, and it affected so many kids and so many cultures. Like, it's universal.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like Dragon Ball Super, I remember like when it came out in in Japan. Like, it's the only thing that I've ever really sat down and like consumed where like I didn't understand what the hell was happening.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like the subtitles were there, but like usually I'm not a sub anime guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's just something that like you make an exception for. It's just like, oh no, we're watching it as soon as it came out.
Yeah.
So before we go a little bit into our own, memories and stuff like that, I also thought that IGN kind of did a nice little mock-up where they, like, different creators kind of reacted to the death of Akira Toriyama. Let's see. Yuji Horii, the creator of the beloved Dragon Quest games, for which Toriyama was the character designer, shared a tribute on Twitter, which translated from Japanese by Gamatsu is, "I'm still in overwhelming disbelief in the news of Toriyama's sudden death. In the 37 years since he began work on Dragon Quest, Toriyama has designed characters, monsters, created countless more charming characters. The history of Dragon Quest goes hand in hand with Toriyama's character designs." Yeah, it's always funny because the way I'll never forget the first time I saw like the like OG Dragon Quest stuff and like Chrono Trigger. Was like, I remember seeing the artwork for the first time and being like, this looks like Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how distinctive his art style was. It's like, it was something that I had no idea he was even a part of. But looking at his work, I like instantly was like, oh, like this must be the guy that made Dragon Ball. And like, as a kid, like that kind of, I always remember that. And then like doing research, like, oh, Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest. You know what I mean? And so that I just always thought that was just really special with his art style. Let's see here. What else did we get? Yeah, a bunch of manga artists just shared a bunch of stuff. The creator of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, said, it's too soon. The void left behind is too large. The sadness overwhelms me when I realize I'll never meet you again. From my childhood, I've admired you. I remember the day I was first called by name on the way home after the day you used the word friends for us. I remember the joyous moment with Naruto creator Masahashi Kishimoto. I remember our last conversation. What's up, Forrest? Oda said Toriyama triggered a shift in perspective of reading manga in Japan. Once considered foolish, Dragon Ball created an era where both adults and children enjoyed manga. Oda said, "You showed us that manga can do this, that it can take us to other worlds. It felt like watching a hero charging forward." He added that Toriyama's work was like a giant tree from which modern manga artists branched off. For manga artists of our generation who stood on the same stage, Toriyama's works became an even greater presence the closer we got. Almost scary, Oda added. But meeting the laid-back you always made me happy. We love Toriyama Sensei to the core. With respect and gratitude for Akira Toriyama Sensei's rich creative world, I sincerely pray for his peaceful rest. And yeah, again, it just kind of goes on and on. IGN did a really nice little compilation of some stuff, but I mean, yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier was just like you can't measure what Akira Toriyama did for culture. It's like I was writing in my notes, and I was like, Toriyama deeply impacted, like, for one manga. Obviously, it's where he starts.
Yeah.
And, like, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. And, like he said, like, a lot of people are pointing out, like, hey, like, at least in this country, like, there probably wouldn't be, like, a manga section of Barnes & Noble or, like, bookstores if Dragon Ball wasn't the case. Someone I watch on YouTube, the Happy Console Gamer, he's older. Like, he's an older gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, when I was a kid, like, before Dragon Ball came out, like, you couldn't find manga. You couldn't just walk into a bookstore and find manga.
Yeah, I think
Dragon Ball changed that.
Yeah, I think at least for the American audience, it made anime and manga cool.
Yeah.
Like he made a story that was so cool that everyone was consuming it. It was just like it penetrated like you said, other manga, but like movies, animation, music. It's like a whole thing in basketball. Like it's a whole culture. Like going Super Saiyan is like its whole thing. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just like,
it's been parodied billions of times. Like
billions.
Yeah.
Again, we could do a podcast just like, hey, here's the Akira Toriyama references we remembered or found this week.
Yeah.
It's like there's too much.
Yeah.
There's just too much to name.
Remember the live action movie?
I don't remember that one. Forrest says DBZ was iconic. It's crazy. DBZ is in everything. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Know? So manga, and then obviously anime. You know, it's so funny to me. Like, Toonami, obviously, for like here in the West at least, Toonami is really what got a large amount of people, I think, into anime. I think it's safe to say, is the impact of Toonami, and like Dragon Ball was like the flagship show of Toonami. Like it's how the West received new episodes of the series. Like that was where they debuted. They debuted on Toonami.
Yeah.
I always remember. I always remember this. I was talking to Ty in the Discord, but I used to wake up an hour earlier than I had to for school because there was this crazy block. I have no idea why I was on at 6 a.m. But there was a block on at 6 a.m. of Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, and I would wake up
just to watch that.
Like I didn't have to wake up that hour early, but I did. And then like I would rush right home, and 5 p.m. Toonami would start.
Yeah.
They would start with an hour of Dragon Ball.
And it was so cool. You would hear Tom's voice. I think that was his name. Tom Robot. Yeah.
Like, sit on the console.
And you just see like all this. You see like flashes of what you're gonna see tonight, basically.
Toonami is like the all-time,
cool.
just the coolest thing that television's ever put out. I stand by that.
You can't repeat it.
You can't. You just can't. They're actually doing a Dragon Ball Z marathon on Toonami this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's from 2 to 6. They're gonna do Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes, so that's really special. The Rising Sun. I remember the Rising Sun. Yeah, and then Midnight Run, staying up till 12, 1 in the morning.
Those I remember more.
So I always remember this as well, and I have it for like a thing coming up, I think. But no, actually I don't. I always remember one of the first years I stayed up for New Year's. The first year I remember staying up for New Year's. Toonami had an event that year, and it was a Midnight Run New Year's edition, but it was the Garlic Junior Saga, and they played the whole Garlic Junior Saga, like at midnight, and I remember that was like the first time like really I remember staying up to watch that, and it was just like I felt on top of the world because like I was this kid. I was like, not only did I stay up for midnight for New Year's.
For New Year's, yeah.
But like I'm sitting here watching new episodes of Dragon Ball Z, where Gohan, who I'm not gonna lie, Gohan was always my favorite character. Like he just was. We'll get into that later. But like, was the block you watched? Yeah, Rising Sun. Rest in peace to the GOAT. What's up to Jeffrey Vegas?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. But so I always remember just watching Toonami and it being a big deal, and obviously again like it brought anime to the West. Like obviously anime was here before, but like it's what made it go mainstream, and I think that's an impact that in and of itself is super important. Gaming, again we talked about like Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is cited as one of the greatest games ever made. Period. Like that's just. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, in more recent years, it's probably not on some of the younger generation's list, but, like, that's a game on the Super Nintendo that, like, growing up, like, I haven't played it, but people are like, this is one of the greatest games ever made. You know what I mean? Like, it constantly makes people's lists. And then, again, Dragon Quest, I mean, a huge franchise over there. I mean, Akira Toriyama's work, it's in Smash Brothers. It made Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah.
His work is in Smash Brothers Ultimate. It's not Goku like people wanted, but... his work's there. You can go on Smash Brothers Ultimate. That's Forrest's main Smash Brothers. Is hero. But so like it's just, and then of course you got the Dragon Ball games. You know what I mean? Like the Budokai games are the ones growing up that I played all the time. you know, they put out a bunch of other little games over the years. In more recent years, like, they put out Kakarot, which is a game that it's on my backlog. Admittedly so, it's probably bumped up my backlog now.
Okay.
But that game, Fighter Z, or I guess Fighters, I was never sure which one.
Yeah.
But that was always one that came to mind that was really special in recent years. It's just... yeah, and see, Jeff says, Chrono Trigger is the best Super Nintendo game he's ever played. There you go. But yeah, just like, again, like, I remember opening up, like, Game Informers back in the day, and, like, I would see ads for Dragon Quest, or see ads for, you know, Chrono Trigger, like, DS ports or whatever, and being like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Is this Akira, like, is this Dragon Ball? And it's like, no, it's not. It's... it's not.
Is that what got you into Chrono Trigger? Or, like, did you ever get into Chrono Trigger because of it?
It's always been in my backlog, but again, it's a Super Nintendo game, so it's a game that I don't have. And I think...
Or I just mean, like, Chrono Trigger franchise in general. It's something you haven't gotten into yet?
I think it's just that...
Okay.
It's not a very large franchise. But, I mean, yeah, like, that's just... It's always been on my list. I've been waiting, hopefully, for it to join NSO, and it hasn't yet, but that's because Square Enix owns it, I think. Yeah, I mean, and that's just... And then, again, we could go much deeper with the games, but it's like, I remember Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was always... or Budokai 3 was always my jam. I used to play that all the time. Growing up, like, it was just... It was huge. And then, like... I had this, like, crazy realization. Again, it's just, like... Just general culture that Akira Toriyama has affected, right? Like, whenever you make, like, a post or a social media post about, like, asking for, like, thoughts and prayers... Like, people always put the spirit bomb thing. Like, when it's, like, Trunks and Goten and the farmers, they're doing the spirit bomb, they're giving their energy. Like, that's, like, synonymous in culture. Like, and just, again, just things like Dragon Ball, like the Over 9,000 thing and memes and stuff like that. But, like, that stuff, like, it's just, it's in the lifeblood of how we communicate with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even as things like that, like, on those levels, it's just insane.
It's similar to Pokemon, I think, in that way, where it's just so global and so natural to everyone. Yeah. Like it's just cool.
Yeah. And then lastly, like, his impact on the world of sports, because, like, there's so many people out there, so many people that went on to become professional athletes who were just like, yeah, man, my inspiration, I watched Dragon Ball as a kid, and I was like, I can do anything. So I went and started training. And, like, there's a generation of nerds, a large bunch of nerds who just went out there and, like, they watch Goku and use Goku as an inspiration.
Yeah.
Like, if I just keep pushing, if I just keep doing it.
Even edits. I love seeing edits where, like, right before someone does something cool, it's like he goes Super Saiyan and, like, he crosses someone over or something. Yeah. It's like, that's the coolest thing you can be, is something Dragon Ball Z related.
Look at Forrest. Forrest went on and became, like, one of those...
He became a Saiyan?
he went on to become one of those fitness nerds. You know what I mean? Like, it just... And I'm not going to speak for Forrest. I don't know if Dragon Ball was the one that did that, but, like, a lot of nerds use Dragon Ball as that
inspiration.
Point of inspiration, where it's like there are, like, again, these athletes that played professionally, like basketball, football, and, like, they're talking about Dragon Ball and Goku and stuff like that. It's just, like, it's crazy. The amount of DVC I see in the gym. Yeah, Forrest confirms it. The amount of people that are in the gym watching Goku, like, it's an inspiration for them, and, like, that's just insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Did you hear about the watch parties they had in Mexico?
I did. The cartels
all
had a ceasefire. You got the Mexican cartels to cease fire. Like, that's world peace. They, like, Akira Toriyama, like, obviously not world peace, but, like, on a minuscule stage, Akira Toriyama caused peace. like I love that there was, like, at a local level, but, like, that's what it was.
Japan issued a cease and desist because they were just showing on a projector to, like, millions of people, and they're like, no, and they just kept doing it.
We're the Mexican cartel. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I think even, like, just Mexico in general was just like, no, we're gonna keep watching Dragon Ball Z. Like, thank you though.
Yeah, it's something else, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, focusing in on Dragon Ball specifically. Obviously, it will be remembered as Akira Toriyama's primary
magnus opus.
Work.
Yeah, that's
his magnum opus. It's his work. Obviously, I always found it really funny that Dragon Ball Z came out in the West before Dragon Ball. I always thought that was really funny. I wonder what the perspective would be to experience Dragon Ball first. You know what I mean?
Starting with that.
Yeah, because in Japan Dragon Ball came out first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I guess that would be like watching...
Like episode 1, 2, 3 of Star Wars first.
Naruto Shippuden first, which is him older, and then going back and watching younger years, like... That'd be funny.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Like, I always thought that was kind of funny.
It doesn't feel weird here because it's just like, oh, that's just his backstory. Yeah, we just watched it. Yeah.
But it's like, think about like when you first watch DBZ, like how like intimidated they are by Piccolo. It's like, why are they treating him like this? He's just a guy. Why do they hate him so much? And you watch Dragon Ball, you're like, oh, yeah, that's why they hate him so much. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was a cornerstone of my childhood, as it was for many. So I didn't tell you this, but I actually wrote down, like, in no particular order, like, my 5, like, favorite Dragon Ball Z moments.
Okay.
And if you want to share, like, your favorites, you know, I just jotted this down before you came over. So I don't think these are in any particular order, but these are, like, the 5 things that I, like, always really loved when watching Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z. Number 5 was whenever they did the World Martial Arts Tournament in Dragon Ball. It's kind of a cheat, because it's like a lot of moments. Yeah. But whenever they did the World Martial Arts Tournament, it always just felt like the biggest deal. Like, the show did a great job at making it just feel like the most important thing happening in this world at the time. And I always just loved those blocks of episodes.
It has to be the inspiration for so many, like, school-related or tournament-related arcs in anime. Like, there's always that arc, and it's always one of the coolest arcs when, like, they're competing against each other or whatever. And that's basically all of Dragon Ball. So
yeah, you know, and like with those World Martial Arts tournaments, I also really liked how, at least in the Dragon Ball series, not really Z kind of, they have the tournaments a few times, but they don't really do much with them. They usually are just arcs to, like, launch, like, Boo appearing and stuff. But in Dragon Ball, it always felt like a benchmark. Like, okay, let's check in and see where Goku's at in the grand scheme of everything.
Oh, yeah.
With, like, the Jackie Chun thing. Like, in the first one, he loses to Jackie Chun. And then, like, so on and so forth. And, like, it ends up, like, being all about, like, him fighting Tien. And then him fighting Piccolo. And it's just, like, yeah.
More recently, he's fighting gods. And, like...
Yeah, right,
now
exactly.
He has a god mode. And...
Yeah, it's just, like, always that measuring stick where it's like, okay, where is Goku at right now? They use a tournament to do that.
Yeah.
I always thought that was really cool. Number 4, my favorite moments. Yeah, the tournament arc is a trope now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just is. Number 4, Vegeta's sacrifice. When obviously he becomes Majin Vegeta, and he ends up sacrificing himself trying to stop Boo. And he's like, Trunks, I always loved you. So I always thought that was just... That's, like, one of Vegeta's coolest fucking moments.
Vegeta was always my favorite character.
See, I loved Vegeta, but, like, that's, like, such a badass moment. Like, whenever Vegeta finally shows that he lows Trunks, like, it's just... Because it's, like, Vegeta is such a badass, such a tough guy.
He's the best dad in the series.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd argue Piccolo is.
Oh, yeah,
Piccolo's
that's... Okay,
Gohan's best dad.
yeah.
Piccolo loves the shit out of Gohan. That is a good father-son relationship right there. It's Piccolo and Gohan.
It was Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan were my 3 favorite characters.
Okay,
watching.
Yeah. Mine were always Gohan, Trunks, and probably Vegeta.
Okay.
I'd say Vegeta is number 3. So number 3, and again, this is in no particular order, but it's just like my 3 top moments are like really rotating, and people are going, "Why this is only your number 3?" It's not in particular order. That first time Goku turns Super Saiyan is just like that's it. I don't know what to say. Like, that's it. We can move on to the next point. It's such a special moment, and it's just like, look, if you watch the anime, I understand that the Namek saga goes on for super long, and I understand why it does, because Akira Toriyama was still writing the manga as the show was being made. I argue that those episodes, like them taking like 20 episodes to get to that point, is actually makes it so much better, because it's like a build. It's a slow build.
I think
get to that point. It's something like I take out of like a wrestling thing.
It's one of those things where it's very flawed, but it ended up maybe
perfect.
Yeah, and it ended up being perfect.
Like,
I mean, I would watch Kai over it.
I've never watched Kai, and I never will.
Yeah, it's but I get what you mean though. It's so imperfect that it just becomes part of the staple.
Because it's like it's a slow build, and again, I liken it to like a professional wrestling storyline. Like, when done well, you don't just go like, all right, there's the story. It's like there's a build to it, and you kind of work your way up until you get to that conclusion of the story. And in Goku going Super Saiyan, there's that slow build of like they're on Namek hiding from Frieza. They're overmatched. They can't fight Frieza. They're literally just trying to buy time until they can win via something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like buy time until we get the Dragon Balls. You know, buy time until Goku gets there. Buy time until we can summon the dragon and get the balls away from Frieza. Buy time until Goku's healed. Like, we're just trying to buy time and survive.
Yeah.
And then at the end,
Goku
he shows up and he turns Super Saiyan. Krillin dies. The death of Krillin, you know, a running joke in the franchise where Krillin just dies a lot. But, like, in this one is, like, the most impactful death he has. Well, the first one is pretty impactful, too, because that sets up for Piccolo and Dragon Ball. But, like, yeah, it's just... It's something else, man. Number 2, Trunks' arrival. I always just thought that was just... The debut of Trunks in the anime is just one of the coolest things ever. Because, again, we have this build where Goku is still struggling to beat Frieza. It is not an easy fight for him. And this mystery guy who just shows up, turns Super Saiyan with a sword and just dices up Frieza. It's, like, all time. Like, for me, that's such a cool moment. Not just in the anime, but, like, in anything.
Okay.
It's just so cool. And, like, it's got the mystery behind it and all that. And then number 1 for me is Gohan defeating Cell with the Kamehameha with the help of Goku. I always just thought that was... Again, I'm biased. Gohan's my favorite character. And so, like, I've always just loved that scene where it's, like, that's the culmination of Gohan's journey as a fighter. And then, obviously, afterwards, he goes off and, you know, he gets to grow up and live his life and gets, you know, finds the girl of his dreams, etc., etc. And he goes on. He turns out to be the only kind of normal one.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always loved that. Do you have any favorite Dragon Ball moments from the shows that maybe I didn't mention? I know I kind of covered a lot of the top ones.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. I didn't have time to think about it, but I think you covered a lot of the top ones.
Yeah. Oh, you got some Chrono Trigger up here.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... It's sad to hear. I knew he was so influential, but it's like after his passing, you see everyone coming out, and it's just like, yeah, I forgot who he was. Like,
yeah. So that's the life of Akira Toriyama. I mean, obviously, all the work that he's given us is stuff that we'll cherish for the rest of time. I think it's timeless, and it definitely changes my 2024 plans. Like, I definitely want to get to playing Kakarot. I definitely want to do a rewatch of the anime. So I'm doing a Star Wars marathon right now. After Star Wars, I might do a Dragon Ball. Okay. That might be like what I do next.
Do all of Dragon Ball and then all of Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah. We won't talk about GT though. Oh, actually, I'll say this: GT. Like, no one ever talks about GT because it was really poorly received. GT had a few kernels of good ideas. I'll stand by that. I think even GT, like, I thought some of the stuff that GT does was interesting and could have been done really cool ideas. I thought the whole baby concept with that character doing what he does in the show, I thought that was an interesting concept that they could have done. And then obviously, like, the Android 17 thing they revisit was really cool. The rest of the show, like, you could get rid of like 95% of the show and still get the same value, but definitely still worth mentioning. What's up, Coog? Good evening. Good evening. Just to say, breaking news, Lucha Gods. Yeah, absolutely, Tecmo Bowl forever. Thank you. Ty says, what do you guys think about Dragon Ball Super? Super was such a miss. From a quality perspective, the most popular anime show in the world should deliver better. I'll actually kind of agree with Ty on this.
You've told me that before.
I do think Super kind of misses in a lot of ways. I don't think it quite hits the same as Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, I think it's better than GT, but I actually agree with that. But at the end of the day, like...
Super feels like a retired person still working a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you retired from your job and now you want a part-time thing so you're not, like, bored in the house.
And I think it's had some pretty great moments. Like, I think, again, they had another tournament arc.
I think my favorite parts of Dragon Ball Super they did in that Resurrection F movie. It's just like, you can watch that, I'm pretty content.
Mm. I think it has some cool parts.
Yeah,
but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Let's move on to number 2 on the headlines. What was originally going to be our number 1. There was an Xbox partner preview last week. So we're going to run through what was announced. Unfortunately, my notes got messed up, so I'm using Xbox Wire, which isn't in order of the showcase. But we're going to talk about the stuff all the same. Final Fantasy XIV Online got a release date of March 21st for Xbox. Square Enix treated us to a first look at the release date for Final Fantasy XIV Online ahead of its full launch announcement on March 21st for Xbox. It was also announced that a starter edition will be available through Game Pass Ultimate Perks for a limited time between March 21st and April 19th. You can start playing Final Fantasy 14 online today with the open beta, which is now live on Xbox. It's a good get for them, Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, coming to Game Pass in 2024. Capcom delivered a detailed look at the upcoming I said it right the first time. Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, a unique single-player game set in Japanese-inspired universe, first revealed in June last year during Xbox's Game Showcase. This new title from Capcom will release day one with Game Pass, as well as with Xbox Series and Windows in 2024. This game looks really cool.
Yeah.
This is a new game reveal. The Sinking City 2 made a world premiere appearance during the show with a trailer showing the iconic Lovecraftian city of Arkham and the very unpleasant sights within. The long-awaited sequel from Frogwares is evolving into a full-on horror game as you guide a new character through the mysteries of why Arkham is flooding and take on some of its abominable residents along the way. I never played the first one, but I've heard good things. Persona 3 Reload, they announced the expansion pass. It will allow players to dive deeper into the world of Persona 3 Reload, featuring new costumes, background music, and extended story content with episode Aegis, The Answer. Shadow dropped during the Xbox Presents, the partner preview, was Stalker, Legends of the Zone trilogy. As a surprise for Xbox gamers everywhere, GSC Game World launched Stalker, Legends of the Zone trilogy for Xbox One and Series consoles via backwards compatibility, with the cult classics Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky, and Call of Pripyat, all available to play today. This game went right onto my wish list. I really want to play these Stalker games.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of good things about them. Hopefully I get to them soon, but they look really cool. Next up, we got an announcement for a game called Unknown 9, Awakening Surprises. This was probably my game of the show, admittedly.
Okay.
Bandai Namco and Reflector Entertainment reintroduced us to a world of Unknown 9 Awakening, giving us a fresh look at its exciting world and showing off the hero Haruna, played by Anya Chalotra. And they showed some gameplay. I thought this game looked like fantastic. Like, I'm very much into this. Rome stalking is bad. I'm aware. Thank you. But it's okay if you're stalking radioactivity in nuclear Chernobyl, you know? It's okay. It's fine. But no, Unknown 9 looks really awesome, and it's definitely a game that's on my radar. Next up, we got Abu Bakr Salim. That was the creator of the game. He narrated the game. For Tales of Kenzara Zhao. Surgeon Studios and EA Originals delivered a fresh look at the upcoming Tales of Kenzara Zhao, showcasing its beautiful and treacherous lands in a new trailer narrated by Abu Bakr Salim, and how the unique interchangeable gameplay between the Mask of the Sun and the Mask of the Moon can influence how you traverse its unique world. After that, there was a Roblox trailer for a game inside of Roblox. It's an expansion
to a game inside of Roblox. Yes.
On Xbox.
There you go.
And I'm watching this, and this was like the moment where I was like, this is the type of stuff Xbox is talking about when they say games are bigger than platforms. Because like this is an expansion to a game inside of a platform. It's on the Xbox platform. And I'm just like,
it's a weird thing to see.
Because I saw this and I was like, this looks terrible. I thought this looked awful. Like, I know kids play Roblox and like they're into it. Like, I thought this game looked like trash. I was like, okay. I mean, like, look, you know. Is it me that's wrong or is it the children? And I was like, no, it's the children who might be wrong. No, I mean, it is cool. I mean, asymmetric multiplayer type games are always fun, and I get Roblox is much bigger than any one game. But
and now you can play as Chucky.
You can play as Chucky in Roblox.
Yeah.
On Xbox. New game reveal: Creatures of Ava. Inverge Studios revealed their newest title, Creatures of Ava.
I thought that looked cool.
Yeah, it did. Well, you'll learn to understand and tame the creatures of the planet Ava, and let them lead you through a variety of ecosystems, all in the hopes of saving the planet from a life-consuming infection. So I'm watching this, and you know what I thought of? I thought of Rare's game that they've been working on, Everwild, and I'm like, this is exactly what I thought Everwild would look like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought the same thing.
I don't know if Everwild will look like this, but like this is exactly the game I expected
Everwild to be. Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
It's just an observation.
No, it did look like a great game too.
There was a new game reveal for Monster Jam Showdown. Crushes it. Or no, just Monster Jam Showdown. It was a Monster Jam, monster truck game.
Yeah.
The Alters.
This is my game of.
This looked really interesting.
Yeah, this
11-Bit Studios shared a deeper look at its upcoming emotional sci-fi game that features a unique blend of adventure, survival, and base-building elements. As Jan Dolsky, you'll play as a simple worker who creates alternative versions of himself in a desperate attempt to escape from a planet where even sun rays can prove deadly. Look for The Alters to come to Game Pass, Series X and S, and Windows. Dev, tell me about why this was your favorite game.
It felt very... So, like, the concept of it is, like, you're dealing with just more of yourself who lived different lives, and you guys all got to work together, but it's you the whole time, and it's... I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of puzzle elements, probably managing... You got to manage the different feelings. I don't know. It just seems really cool.
Yeah.
A cool concept. A cool looking world. I like the art style.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this game looked really good. And this is definitely a game that's on my radar as well. It's coming to Game Pass, so that always makes it easier to fit it into the backlog. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We also got a look at First Berserker Kazan.
That one also looked really good. I like the art style on that because the backgrounds are realistic, but like the characters are very, very animated in a cool way.
Based on the DNF Dungeon and Fighter universe, the First Berserker Kazan focuses on the betrayed hero Kazan, who is seeking revenge against those who orchestrated his downfall. During today's Xbox Partner Preview broadcast, Nexon gave us a deeper look at the fierce gameplay we can expect to see when the game arrives on series consoles. Ty says there are a lot of games like this, but the story makes this really stand out. I agree. It's a really fascinating story. I assume he's talking about The Alters, where I thought it was really cool when he's like making a decision like, man, if I had spent more time with my wife, maybe I could have saved my marriage or like stuff like that. Like, I just think that seems like there's a lot of like decision making there, and you know what, like changing things and trying different things. It looks cool. Frostpunk 2 is coming to PC Game Pass on July 24th. Again, 11-Bit Studios showed up for this showcase. They showed off more of its upcoming city survival game set 30 years after an apocalyptic blizzard ravaged Earth, transforming our world into a harsh, icy wasteland. In Frostpunk 2, you face a new deadly threat that appears on the horizon, human nature, and its unsatiated thirst for power. And that hits PC Game Pass on July 24th. Mm-hmm. This is another game for me that was, and this is actually the last thing announced on this showcase. This was probably like my second game I'm looking forward to the most, was Sleight of Hand.
Okay.
It was a new game reveal from Riff Raff Games. Sleight of Hand it had an amazing cinematic trailer. It's an upcoming third-person stealth game of hard-boiled espionage action that you will infiltrate your old witch coven using a cursed deck of cards in the rain-slick city of Taboo, where ritual magic and cursed artifacts set apart those with power from those without. And it's like a third-person stealth game, but like it also is like a card, like a deck builder. It has like card feature. So I'm really interested in that. I thought the trailer looked really cool. It is a cinematic, but it definitely hooked me. So I'm looking very much forward to this. And that was the Xbox Partner Previews. I thought this was actually a really good showcase. For me, I walked away from this with like 3 games that really interest me, and then a few others that I found interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think that in terms of like what you should expect from a partner preview, I think this gets an A for me as a grade. I know you don't grade things, but what did you think of the show overall?
No, I thought it was pretty good. For me, it was 2 games that I really liked: the Capcom one and Alters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a good showcase.
I think that's
something,
also
something small, but you get to see
yeah
what third-party people are doing.
I think that's also the signs of a good showcase, where it's like there's kind of a little something for everybody. You know what I mean? Like they have a shooter, they had like stuff from Capcom, they had the monster racing game. You know what I mean? You had like the base building game. You had like I don't know. I just thought it was a really well planned out showcase, and I was very, I guess I would say surprised. I didn't think it was going to be this good, but I actually thought it was just a really good show.
Just a lot of variety, a lot of cool things.
Ty says there are a lot of games like this. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that was an older chat. Anyways, let's move on to the next headline, number 3. On a Sunday, because Nintendo just doesn't care and they'll do whatever they want. Sunday was Mario Day, Dev.
Yeah.
And they released a 2-minute, I would call it a direct, because there was more than one announcement. But Nintendo and Illumination have confirmed that they are working on a second Super Mario Brothers movie. The release date is planned for April 3rd, 2026. That's going to be a fun birthday weekend for me. And yeah, they're looking to expand Mario's world, and they don't really have much else to say at this time. They're starting animation soon. They'll be stressing over every detail until they get it right. And I have faith in them, because the first movie was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Second on the announcements was we got release dates. The leaker Puyo comes through again. And at this point, Nintendo's got to be searching this. Like, there's got to be some witch hunts going on at Nintendo. Like, I know you always take leakers with a grain of salt, but at this point, Puyo is confirmed. Like, this guy he doesn't miss. Like, he's been going for, like, about 7 or 8 months now.
Yeah.
And he's just like, hey, Mario Wonder's a thing. It's coming out. It's getting announced. Is Xbox a Nintendo partner?
Yeah.
It shows up. And like all these other little things, and Puyo just doesn't miss. Well, Puyo predicted that we would get release dates for Mario, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and Luigi's Mansion 2, and he was correct. All hail to the bird.
You're excited about this, aren't you?
I'm so excited for Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. So Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is going to launch for Nintendo Switch on May 23rd, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is going to release on June 27th. I find it really funny that my wife's birthday is May 22nd. And then this and Hellblade come out on May 23rd. So I'm very much looking forward to celebrating my wife's birthday and then saying, like, see you later. We're going to do whatever she wants on her birthday. May 23rd, the clock strikes midnight. It's like, poof, I'm gone. I'm going to go play Hellblade, and then I'm going to go play this. I'm very excited for Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Getting that Switch port is huge for me. So I'm looking forward to it. Ty says Xbox has always been good at being the everyone platform to the detriment of fanboys. I would agree with that. And then lastly, Nintendo announced 3 more Mario games are coming to the NSO. They should actually be live probably within like the next 5 minutes.
Oh yeah,
because they usually go live like, well, it's tomorrow, but they always go live at like 9 o'clock the night before.
Okay.
So it's like, they're probably, you know. He gone, LOL, 12:01 a.m. Yeah, like it's real shit. Like take it off that weekend. It's gonna be like her birthday on Friday or whatever. And then Saturday, I'm like, oh, I'm still celebrating her birthday. I'm gonna tell work, but it's like I'm gonna be playing video games. Anyways, Dr. Mario, the Game Boy version, Mario Golf, the Game Boy Color version, and Mario Tennis, the Game Boy Color version, are coming to NSO within the next 5 minutes. So you know, if you want to play those games, just remember these games are on the NSO. But Pokemon's still not.
Just a public service announcement.
It's a public service announcement. These games are still... Nintendo values Mario Tennis on the Game Boy more than Pokemon. No, but it's Mario Day, so I get it. Mm-hmm. And those were the Mario Day announcements. I thought this was a really awesome little bunch of announcements. The movie one, like we expected, but it was still a nice surprise. And then those release dates, very exciting. And then I'm always down for some more NSO stuff. Number 4 on the headlines. This is well, the next like 3 are all like I've labeled under WB sucks, because like we're about to get into like a bulk of WB news, and none of it is good. Ty says Paper Mario on the GameCube is the funniest game I've ever played. The humor on that game was gold, dude. It's so good. I've been trying to get Dev to play Thousand Year Door for like years, but like he just doesn't like turn-based games, and I'm like, it's at a point where like I'll play it for you.
No, I'll play it.
Like, I'll play it for you. Like, I just want you to play this game. It is one of the best games I've ever played. And I stand by that. You know, in high school, I made some people upset when I said it was better than Final Fantasy VII. And I was kind of trolling. But it's still a really good game. You know what I mean? Like, it's still really good.
Okay.
I was trolling, but, like, maybe I wasn't. I don't even know. I don't even know, to be honest. All right. Next up on the headlines, like I said, WB sucks. Let's start off with Rooster Teeth is shutting down, the creator of the Red vs. Blue Halo web series. This week was actually Master Chief's birthday, according to PureXbox.com, but unfortunately, there's some sad news for fans of the long-running Halo machinima, Red vs. Blue. Not only is the final season of the series happening this year, but it's also been revealed that the company behind it, Rooster Teeth, is being shut down by Warner Brothers Discovery after 21 years. Rooster Teeth was originally founded in Texas in 2003 and made a name for itself with its Halo Machinima series. It's up to 19 seasons, with the latest restoration due later this year after being delayed last November. Rooster Teeth general manager Jordan Levin had this to say. To our final season, though not intentional, it's only appropriate that our last season of Red vs. Blue coincides with us navigating this closure together. Our legacy is not just a collection of content, but a history of pixels burned into our screens, minds, and hearts. Rooster Teeth has made an indelible mark on the media industry, and we should be so proud of the countless ways we pioneered a business connecting creators and content with dedicated community. So this was really upsetting to me. It's funny to say, but I'll just admit it, that like my first, at least unless I have the timeline mixed up, my first experience with Halo was Red vs. Blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it was just like, this is a really fun, like, oh, like I knew what Halo was, but like I never like, because again, I didn't have an original Xbox. Like that wasn't, I was a Nintendo kid.
Yeah.
And then like 360 was my first Xbox console.
Okay.
And so like I was always just like, man, like this game looks like a lot of fun, but like these guys are telling this really funny story in the confines of the game. And the machinima community kind of blew up around it. It was like a whole big machinima community. Like, I don't know if Jeff is still here, but like Dr. Disrespect got his start in that community. Like a lot of people got their start in like making these machinimas and like following Red and Blue. So it's like ripple effect is like, I don't know if like Dr. Disrespect has his success in 2023 and 4 and whatever if like Red and Blue doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then, like, other than Red versus Blue, I mean, I always remember Achievement Hunter. That was also one of, like, the early things that really got me hooked on achievements. Where it was just, like, they used to do the Achievement Hunter guides. That was always really fun to watch.
Yeah.
They had Rage Quit, which was also really hilarious.
Yeah.
They just made great content.
Ruby, that was really
Ruby,
big
like,
for
I've
them.
never even seen Ruby, but I've heard great things about Ruby.
Yeah.
Forrest says Red versus Blue was the go. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was.
It was so funny. I'm probably going to want to do a rewatch of that as well this year. 2024 is just fucking terrible. Like, it really is. Like, Red Bull, like, 2024 has just been, like, the worst year so far. And it's only March. Like, we need to just end this year, like, like now. But yeah, so that was the first thing that WB did. What else did WB do? Well, an indie developer has said that he's made his game free for sale, Devro. It's free to download.
Oh, awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not a bad reason why.
No, there can't be.
No, there is, Devro. Warner Brothers told him that they're delisting his game and erasing it forever from the marketplaces. Owen Deary, who develops games as a one-man studio Fireface, released his game, Small Radios, Big Televisions, in November 2016 on PC and PS4. The game was published by Adult Swim, which is now owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. However, Deary now says that he's been informed by Warner that his game will soon be delisted and will no longer be available to buy. To combat this, Deary has made the PC version of the game available to download for free on his website. WBD have informed me that they will be retiring my game Small Radios, Big Televisions from both Steam and PS4 stores, Deary wrote on Twitter. I've made it free to download here. Thank you all for your support. When asked by followers why the game was being delisted, he says he was only told the reason was down to business changes. The game will remain on Steam and PS Store for now, but Deary says it will be pulled within the next few weeks. He says he will continue to receive royalties on any copies of the game sold until it's delisted. Deary also seemingly doesn't want the situation to escalate. When one follower replied to his message with, "We hate you, Warner Brothers," Deary replied, "Chill out." But it just sounds like he's trying to be cool about it.
Yeah.
Because this is his art, and it's going away.
That sucks. Absolutely.
So
I don't understand the reason why still. Like,
well, we're getting there.
Okay.
We're not really getting there. But let's paint the whole picture, and then we'll be like, well, this is what they are.
Okay.
So that was originally on the script, and I decided to keep it in, but it turns out that all of Adult Swim's games are being removed from sale by Warner Brothers, not just that game. This is coming from PC Gamer. A couple of days after the developer Small Radios Big Television said his game was being retired from Steam at the behest of WBD, it's starting to look like the entire catalog of Adult Swim games could be facing the same fate. At least 2 other developers have said they've been informed that their Adult Swim games will be removed from sale within 60 days. In a message posted on the Steam forums, First Puncher, developed Team 2-Bit, said that they received the same message from Warner that the game will be retired and removed from Steam in the next 60 days. A request to transfer the game to Team 2-Bit's own Steam publisher page was rejected on the grounds that Warner made the universal decision not to transfer the games back to the original studios and do not have the resources to do so, despite the process making the transfers being relatively short and simple. So basically,
that's rough.
So the creator of this game said, "Hey, well, can you at least transfer the publishing rights back to me on my Steam creator page?"
Yeah.
They said no because they didn't have the resource to do it. This developer revealed that it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Very little work on WB's end. It would be very little work. They would just click on the link and agree to transfer, and then that would be it.
Yeah, just why not do that? Like, you're not going to do anything else with the IP. You're going to just let it die.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Matt Kane Lewandowski of Team 2-Bit said, "This is incredibly disappointing. I'm not entirely sure what will even happen if the game gets delisted, but it makes me think that the purchased games will presumably be removed from users' libraries." Ty says, question is, what is the reason for the delisting? Does it cost money to have it listed? I also wonder what the idea behind that is. Like, I can't imagine it costs much money after the fact of release. You know what I mean? We're talking like some of these games have been out for a few years.
Yeah.
So, and again, this just continued to happen with all of the games under the Adult Swim's publishing wing. And it sucks to see. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of people right now are asking, like, what exactly is the idea here? And so Warner Brothers, here's the next thing. And we talked about this after we went live last week. This came out like right after. We were chuckling about it. So Warner Brothers was talking about, during a recent Morgan Stanley speaking event, Warner Brothers Discovery gaming boss J.B. Parrott discussed some of the company's strategy for gaming going forward. And it includes more live service games, more mobile, and more free-to-play games. He said, "We're doubling down on games as an area where we think there is a lot more growth opportunity that we can tap into with the IP that we have and some of the capabilities we have on the studio where we're uniquely positioned as both a publisher and a developer of games." Perrette said WBD's recent gaming output has focused on AAA games for console. And that's great when a game like Hogwarts Legacy sells 22 million copies and becomes the best-selling game of the year.
Yeah.
But this kind of success is never guaranteed. In what Perrette said was a volatile market, he pointed out that one of WBD's latest games, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, was a disappointment for the company. He says, so Devro, I'm going to stop right there. Right? So, with all this, so basically he says, like, hey, it's great that we made this single-player game.
The best-selling game of
2023, Hogwarts Legacy. And that happened. It was very successful for us. And then when you look at Suicide Squad, our most recent game, which has disappointed the company, it goes this live service route, and it was a failure.
Yeah.
So, like, our plan moving forward to succeed, what do you think that is, Devro? What do you think the plan to succeed, the plan moving forward is going to be?
They should work on more single player games, right? Single player experiences, right? Right?
No, they're like, so WBD does not see the value in releasing what's worked for them. They're instead going to go the route of what has not worked for them. Perrette said, "We're doubling down." Hold on. So the plan going forward, he said, is to help reduce volatility by focusing on core franchises and bringing at least some of them to mobile and free-to-play space, as well as continuing to invest in live service games that people pay and spend money on over a long period of time. This will help WBD generate more consistent revenue, he said, going on to tease that WBD has some new mobile free-to-play games coming this year. Also worth noting that is just because WBD may push into new places, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stop making big single-player AAA games. He says, rather than launching a one-and-done console game that sells 22 million units and is the most highest-selling game of last year, how do we develop a game around, for example, a Hogwarts Legacy or Harry Potter that is a live service where people can live and work and build and play in that world in an ongoing basis?
I will say this. In terms of just Harry Potter, it won't work for Warner Brothers. Like, I don't know, live service superhero games just don't work. So for something like Harry Potter, it might work. You know, it's a school. They have seasons. You get to live into the magical world. I think it would work for Harry Potter, but I don't want them to EA it. You know what I mean? I don't want there to be loot boxes. I don't want them to. A live service Harry Potter game sounds really cool, but I just don't think it's going to be what the thought in my head that I'm imagining of multiple wizards flying around and you guys like fighting people.
It's not realistic.
It's not what they're going to do.
It's not. Yeah. I think the thing you gotta like. Here's something that bothers me about the live service model. It's that they make these games, and the idea for them is, well, we need a game where people are going to play the game long term. But, like, they don't bother to think about what you're putting out at launch. And, like, that's what matters most. That's when you gather the attention of people.
For me, it's more so that you have to support the game. If you're going to do a game like this, and you have to go all in on a live service game.
I agree, but I also think your day one product needs to be enough for customers.
Oh, no.
Because that first impression's huge.
No,
absolutely. Some games bounce back, but many don't.
No, you shouldn't expect your game to bounce back. You definitely have to put out a full game, but you have to support it after that. If you want people to play your game for long term, you have to make it good at the end of the day. You still have to, like, it has to be good. And I just don't, it sounds like more of a cash grab. Hey,
I think that this is a terrible idea for them. I think it's legitimately borderline laughable. And I think that, and I was listening to Jeff Grubb's podcast the other day, and I think he really kind of hit the nail on the head where right now Warner Brothers is not thinking long term. They're thinking
right now,
next quarter.
Yeah.
Like they're delisting these games, they're making these cuts, they're doing these things that right now in the next quarter are going to look great on paper, but like when they're sitting here like with all these games they've launched that are not successful, and they're looking like, man, that Hogwarts Legacy game last year was a big hit for us.
And I wonder if I think the studio, if you let the studio make the game the way they want to, I think it'll be fine.
You should always do that.
I think they're going to be rushed. They're going to have to like, hey, monetize this game. That's just going to suck, you know?
So yeah, right now Warner Brothers is definitely doing some really crappy stuff. It's funny because in the wrestling landscape, the way Warner Brothers is treating like AEW is great, and it's because AEW, pro wrestling in general, is a really cheap product in general to put on comparatively. It's not super expensive for the company. It's live sports. It's live weekly sports that they can pay very little for comparatively, and it's great for them. Mm-hmm. Video games are not that. And like nor is like other pop culture stuff, so it's like it is really funny to kind of see the good and the bad of Warner Brothers, because when it comes to games, man, screw Warner Brothers. It's just not good. Yeah,
it's sad to hear.
Yeah. Next up on the headlines though. Oh, Ty says live and world and build and play on an ongoing basis. That sounds good to Ty. Maybe they want to make it like a Fortnite universe. I just think they just want to fill it with microtransactions and stuff like that. I don't think they actually want to put a lot of effort into it. History has shown that they usually don't.
It depends. They still have the opportunity to do it. We just have to see them do it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Next up on the headlines, Sony has announced the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut for PC. In development at Nixie's in collaboration with the original creator Sucker Punch. The game will be released on May 16th via Steam and Epic Games Store. This continues the ongoing push from PlayStation to get their games on PC.
Yeah. I'm telling you, at this point, PC is the way to go. I think it's great that consoles are going multi-plat. Like, I think that's probably great for the industry, but I do think Sony and Microsoft are just going to end up being publishers in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue to buy consoles as long as they're available. I don't want to keep having to build a PC and
it's really
change
not,
pieces.
It's really not like...
It's much more expensive than a gaming console. Like, if you want to get a good gaming PC, it's more expensive than a console.
Yeah, but it looks better. You can upgrade if you want to. You don't really have to. Like,
you say that until I have to. Like, I don't know. It's just not for me right now.
Like, yeah.
It's just not for me. Like, the price of a PC, like, I've seen, like, how much little, like, singular pieces in the PC cost, and I just have no interest in building a PC. So I'm going to continue to play on console.
Okay.
Pretty much as long as they're around. That's my plan. Anyways, but I will say this. I do think that you have a merit where, like, it is kind of difficult for some... Like, if someone is willing to build a PC...
It's not even about building.
Unless you want Nintendo games. Nintendo's the only one that's not going to do this.
They sell pre-builts. Like, you don't have to break your pocket getting a PC. It's really not as tedious as you think it is.
And like, it seems like it.
And then you don't have to worry about, this console release. You don't have to worry about exclusives, really. I mean, like you said, besides Nintendo, but like it ends up being worth it in the long run, and I can play games from both parties. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll say this: like, I do think that we're going to start seeing PlayStation first party releases go day and date with PC.
Yeah.
I think that that's just where they're headed. And again,
there's a lot of market there. It makes sense. It
and again,
make sense
I'm
not
just
to.
going to say it. I do see a plausible argument for PlayStation to put their games on Xbox. Maybe not all of them, but like I just see it as it making sense. Like where how much gaming has changed clearly in like the last like few months, like few weeks, where it's just like we see PlayStation and Xbox talking about like these companies want growth, and like I think that if you're going to go as far as going to PC, I don't see a point in not going all the way.
I could make the argument,
especially if your competitor is doing the exact same.
But their competitors is basically a PC, a Windows.
But I'm saying if Xbox is doing it, like if Xbox is putting their games on PlayStation because they want to get as many gamers as possible.
Yeah.
Why? Like, what's the thought process for PlayStation to not put out? Like, here's the thing.
Because it's
here's the thing. The whole reason Xbox says they lost the console war, right, is because like they lost the generation where people started amassing digital libraries, where people like made those switches where like they're probably not going to jump much more than they already have.
That's
and
true.
It's just like, so at that point, should PlayStation even be worried about putting their games on Xbox? I don't think they should.
Exactly. That's the thing. They're not worried about it.
That's what I'm saying.
If they lose that as a market, going from Xbox to PlayStation is a lot different from going PlayStation to Xbox in terms of numbers, is what I was trying to say. So Xbox is gaining a lot more than PlayStation would if they went to Xbox.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm saying that
they're going to PC already. That's a much bigger market
in doing it though. It's like if you could sell an extra 5, like again, we know the Xbox.
It doesn't hurt them, it doesn't hurt them. But if you want to play Spider-Man's, you still have to get a PlayStation 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if they're selling those consoles at a loss, why not just sell the software on an Xbox?
They're doing that already on PC.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what's the harm if you're already going on PC to go to Xbox?
Because there's still a chance that someone's going to buy a PS5 to play those games.
I don't know. I just don't.
You still have you have Horizon, you have God of War, you have Spider-Man. You still have a great catalog.
But you don't need a PlayStation to buy those. You can just play them on a PC.
Yeah, you can, but you can also still play them on a PS5. That's still a market where parents will go to the store and say, "Hey, my kids want to play these games. I'm going to get them the PS5."
Right, but that's why you just slap your branding all over it. You say, "Hey, this is a PlayStation Studios game." Same way Xbox should do that with Xbox. Like, you should still say, like, hey, if you are a gamer and you want to play the PlayStation first party games, the best place to play them should be on PlayStation. Even if there are other places.
It's the same reason when I said, like, oh, consoles are going to go away and games are going to come to PC, and you have an argument against that. That argument is the reason why they're not doing it. You send a mom and dad to the store to get a game system for their kid who wants to play Spider-Man. They're going to have to buy a PS5 and the game. That's more money in Sony's pocket.
I mean, I'd argue kids just want to buy a PC.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think kids are buying consoles these days. That's the whole point. They're not like the younger generation isn't buying consoles for one reason or the other. Like, I just don't think they are.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Xbox is like, as much as
it makes sense for Xbox to go to the PlayStation market. That's a huge market. The Xbox market isn't that large. You know? What I mean?
It's about half the size.
A little less.
No, it's about half.
It's less than half.
It's been speculated that it's 2-1.
I think it's okay.
And if PlayStation has 40 million consoles out there, which I believe, that means you would assume Xbox has about 20 million. And again, like, why wouldn't you sell to that 20 million user base, and like maybe you sell 5 million out of that 20 million?
Because you still got to buy you still got to buy a PlayStation at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, you can make the same argument. All right, it's fine. Helldivers, MLB The Show, Dreams, and Sackboy should be on Switch and Xbox. I agree. All those games should be on both. MLB The Show is on Xbox. I don't think it has a Switch version. It might. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I don't know either.
But it's on Game Pass, MLB The Show. So, or it will be when it launches day one. I don't know. We'll have to shelf this conversation because it's just, we'll have to see. I don't know. I think it makes sense if you're going to go to PC, you might as well launch everywhere. You don't think that, which is fine. But we'll have to see. Next up on the headlines, WWE 2K24 is censoring out Vince McMahon's footage.
That's great.
It is great. It's great because he's currently the subject of sexual assault and sexual trafficking lawsuit. And so basically he appears a lot in the WrestleMania showcase mode, and they are blurring out his footage. There's actually some more juicy stuff that came out today about that. More people in the company have been revealed as being part of the knowing about it all. So great stuff. People like Ty though, and they're like, "Oh man, this WWE's great." Meanwhile, all the people making the show are a bunch of sex traffickers. It's like, oh, hey, you do you, man. You watch what you want to watch, I guess, and I will not partake in that. So yeah, I just thought this was kind of funny. I wanted to mention it. They're acting like he doesn't exist. Here's literally a screenshot from the game where it's just like, I was like, I wonder who that is.
That's great.
I wonder. But yeah, we're gonna move on. Number 11 on the headlines, we have details on Project Over, the next mainline Ghost Recon game. This comes from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. He says, not much is currently known about the next mainline Ghost Recon game, apart from it being in development under the name Over. Previously, Insider Gaming reported that the game would be set during a fictional Naaman war. Speaking with sources under the condition of anonymity, because they were not authorized to talk about the game yet, Insider Gaming has the scoop on more details and what the new game entails. Currently, the next Ghost Recon title is aimed to be released in 2025 or 2026, which will see the Ghost Recon franchise head back into a first-person perspective. This game is poised to be a squad-based military tactical shooter, almost military sim-like in nature, that will also take inspiration from some of the leading first-person military games, including the Modern Warfare series, Battlefield, Squad, and Ready or Not. Project Over is set during the Naaman War, which is located in a hostile southeast country that has seen hundreds of thousands of people die as a result of war crimes. It's understood that the plot of the game evolves around the Ghosts, your team, infiltrating the war zone to carry out secret missions and locate a traitor. The game appears to take heavy inspiration from Modern Warfare, which with some potential dark or controversial missions and segments. One mission, for example, shows your squad nearly shooting a man holding a baby because they thought the baby was a bomb, but they realized this last second. Graphically, the footage provided to Insider Gaming under the condition that the footage isn't shared or goes public shows a significant graphical improvement over its predecessors and is best compared to something akin to Ready or Not. Yeah, so I mean, it's not a lot of details, but it sounds like Ghost Recon is going to be pretty good when it launches.
It sounds pretty good, actually.
2025, 2026. Hold on, here we go. Breaking news, Ty says that I am right. Kids seem to like more PC, and that's all he pretty much says.
That's not all he says. I think you missed the whole section there.
No, that's all he said. Next up on the headlines, preservationists are upset that at that Switch lawsuit that happened last week because there was also a 3DS emulator shut down from the same company. The Citra was a 3DS emulator created in April 2014. It was shut down after the Yuzu lawsuit because Yuzu also created the Citra 3DS emulator.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Mm-hmm. So people are upset because, unlike the Switch, the 3DS is no longer available. The marketplace is no longer open. There's no other way to buy these games or download these games officially from Nintendo. So now people are kind of like, hey, specifically preservationists are like, hey, these are games that like...
You shut down your market.
You shut down your market.
Yeah. We can't play these games anymore, so let us play these games.
Yeah, look, man, it's just the most ridiculous thing to me.
Nintendo does not want you to play their games.
I'm convinced. You
can't even play Smash Brothers. You can't have tournaments with Smash Brothers that are funded by...
Oh, you can't have water at these tournaments. You can have the tournament, just no water.
It's insane.
You better not have any water at your tournament.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm surprised Nintendo didn't come in here and knock this out of my hand while we're talking about Nintendo. You can't drink water when you're talking about Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have the cease and desist just for this video.
We're going to get shut down. We're done. It's over. This is the last episode of the Game Room Podcast. But yeah, so that sucks. Number 13 on the headlines. Epic Games says that it can't bring its products to iOS as Apple has terminated its developer account.
So, I don't know if you know this, that went back today.
Oh, did it actually? I didn't see that.
Today, I think you can... I don't know if it's available today, but yes, Fortnite is available on iOS.
Okay.
That is an update. I just saw your thing, so I couldn't... Maybe this article is updated.
It is not, but... Okay, cool. Well, then it's back. But basically, Apple, and Epic have been ongoing. There's a big fight between like Apple and Epic and also Xbox and Apple where they want to get their marketplaces on iOS again because that's kind of where the industry is heading, I guess.
Yeah.
And so Apple's fighting, but yeah.
I don't even know what was their basis. Did you read the article before?
I've read all these articles, but I always forget some of the details.
They said that Epic was dangerous or a threat to their security.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did say that.
But I didn't understand. I don't know why I didn't read it. I didn't understand why.
Bad for the kids.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to lose. They just don't want competition.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move on. Thank you for that update. An interesting little tidbit for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So the physical copies in Japan did not come close to remake sales, and they also underperformed Final Fantasy 16, which launched just last year. This comes from Push Square. They said the RPG has immediately topped the charts with 263,000 copies sold in Japan. But that total, which seems very impressive at first, puts the game well behind the opening figures of its predecessors. Final Fantasy VII Remake is the first one mentioned. When the game first launched in 2020 on PS4, it managed to move a whopping 703,000 units in Japan. Of course, there is additional context to consider here. Remake releasing during the height of the pandemic, people were stuck at home. Even when taking overall console sales into account, we need to remember that PS4 wasn't what you'd call hugely popular in Sony's home nation. By the time Remake came out, the last-gen system was sitting at 9 million units or so, sold over the course of 7 years. PS5 currently tops 5 million, 3 years in. Rebirth also tracks behind Final Fantasy 16, which was also a PS5 exclusive, which hit 336,000 copies within the same time frame as Rebirth. So it sold about, let me do some quick math in my head here, about 70,000 copies less. I wonder why that would be. I mean, we talk about physical, you talk about physical kind of slowing down and stuff like that, but do you really think 70,000 people over 1 year, the same franchise, same situation, console exclusivity, like, do you think it's strictly that people are just not buying physical games, like 70,000 over a year? I don't think it's that.
I do think some of them, maybe a small percentage, 10% or something like that, went digital. That still leaves a whole lot of people who didn't buy the game. I think it's mostly people who just didn't buy the game this time.
So I think that with the sales going down on PlayStation console,
because we won't see digital sale numbers, right? Like a lot of people don't release.
We might,
them.
But this article specifically talk about physical sales.
Yeah.
I do think that it's worth mentioning that I think maybe exclusivity isn't really working for these games for Square Enix. I mean, like, yeah, maybe they're doing well. There was some controversy this week that I didn't include in the script because it was kind of ended up being like a bag of nothing, where it was just like one of the producers told the Washington Post, like in an interview, like they said that the game was as good as it was because they only had to develop it for PlayStation, and like it was misinterpreted that the remake series is going to be exclusive to PlayStation, and people were running with it until Gene Park like updated, like, hey, that's not what I meant. Let's slow it down. Ended up being like a whole bunch of nonsense for nothing. Do you think that like maybe these numbers could, obviously this is just Japan, but maybe Square Enix didn't make the right decision by having these games be exclusive to one platform?
I don't know if that's the issue. I don't think that's entirely the issue with this. I think maybe people are just Final Fantasied out. Like, there is a lot of Final Fantasy games. I don't think it's so much that the game was exclusive that what's killed it. I'm sure that's a reason, you know what I mean? I think that's a punch to it, but I don't think that's the sole reason. I think it's just a lot of little things. People are kind of tired out of Final Fantasy. This is a remake. People are tired of remakes and remasters.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to see. Next up on the headlines, PlayStation-backed Deviation Games, a studio that was formed in 2020 and never released a single game, has been closed down. The studio, which was founded in 2020 by two experienced Call of Duty developers, didn't get a chance to release their debut project, an original IP that was set to be exclusive to PlayStation platforms. They said, "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Deviation Games," Operations Officer Christy Stull announced on LinkedIn. "I want to express my deepest gratitude to our entire team. Thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and contributions to Deviation. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have worked with each and every one of you. I thought this was surprising that this was something that happened. This is a PlayStation-backed studio. Sony clearly was pumping some money into it, and for whatever reason, either the project was canceled or maybe Sony was able to pull money out of it, and for whatever reason, the studio couldn't survive and it just closed down.
Yeah.
Unfortunate stuff. Number 16 on the headlines. Xbox is coming to Boosteroid via the Microsoft Store and Game Pass. In March last year, Xbox announced a 10-year partnership with Boosteroid to bring Xbox PC games to more players around the world. In June, they brought the first batch of Xbox PC games to Boosteroid, and today, last week, they took another step in their partnership. The following comes from the Xbox Wire. They say, "We're bringing more high-quality immersive PC games by giving players another option to stream select games purchased through Microsoft Store on Windows or available with a Game Pass membership. Our partnership continues to accelerate access to players by letting them choose how and where they play their games." At the time of this article put out, you could play Deathloop, Dishonored, Dishonored 2, Dishonored Death of the Outsider, Gears 5, Gears Tactics, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Pentiment. You can enjoy cross-play and cross-save features with your Xbox console and Windows PC for these games. We'll continue to add more hits and fan favorites from our extensive catalog of PC games over time. This is just the continuation of Xbox's Play Anywhere,
which is cool, I think.
Business model.
Yeah.
Next up, Devro, we talk a lot about layoffs here on the podcast. Unfortunately, Capcom's name has come up in the discussion.
Of course.
But they're not laying people off. Oof. I gotcha. I tricked you. Capcom is actually increasing starting salary in Japan by more than 25%. At the moment, the existing pay for new graduate hires is, I'm just going to go with the U.S. value, about $1,560. But beginning in its 2025 fiscal year, and that was a monthly, by the way, but beginning in its 25 fiscal year, the company will change to around $2,000 a month. With this increase in starting salary, Capcom is pursuing further investment in human capital and the acquisition of exceptional talent, a Capcom statement reads. As well as increase in the starting salary, current employees, including those who join in the 2024 fiscal year, will be given a one-time special payment, which Capcom describes as an investment in the people who support the future of the company. Existing salaries will also be raised in fiscal year 2024 by an average of more than 5%.
That's cool.
That's great. Great job, Capcom. Capcom right now is like one of the few developers or publishers that's like really kind of killing it. I mean, it's going to be a good year for them. They got Dragon's Dogma coming out in a few months.
Yeah.
A lot of people...
That game looks really good, actually.
It does. I don't think it's going... I don't think I'm going to play it, but it definitely looks very good.
Yeah.
And last up on the headlines. Bethesda is teasing 4 new features for the March Starfield update. The following comes from Pure Xbox. They say, ready for another Starfield update? The March update for Xbox and PC will be going live in the near future, and we already know 4 main features that'll be included as part of it. The following comes from Bethesda. We're adding expressions to photo mode. Now you can make your character and your companions match the mood of your shot, and Vasco is getting some new poses. We're improving the scanner so you can continue to use it to monitor the world around you while harvesting resources. That's really huge. I would have loved to have had that when I was playing. Like the scanner, like working while you're still harvesting. Like that would have been really
I don't know
cool.
what that means. Like
Trust me.
I take your word for it.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot more enjoyable. So ready for your next mission. Setting course on an inactive mission will now make it active. And they've also tracked down the elusive David Barron, who had mysteriously been unavailable during one of the side quests. So it's like a bug fix for a disappearing character.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, these are just some of the updates that are coming in March, and we'll see. I can't wait to hear about their Shattered Space expansion. That's what I'm looking forward to. All right, and that's it for the headlines of the week. Let's get into the game releases for the week of March 11th, 2024. First up, releasing tomorrow, Contra, Operation Galaga, Comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Melatonin comes out on PS5 on March 12th. Passing By, A Tailwind Journey comes out on Switch and PC on March 12th. Llama Soft, The Jeff Minter Story comes out on PC March 13th. Cartel Tycoon. I wonder if there's like a ceasefire option there for Dragon Ball. Cartel Tycoon comes out on PS5 and Xbox Series consoles on March 14th. Guilt comes out on Switch March 14th. High Water, PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 14th. Lawn Mowing Simulator comes out on the Switch on March 14th.
Nice.
Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 14th. What the Golf comes out on PS5 and PS4 on March 14th. Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition makes its Switch debut on March 15th. And Outcast, A New Beginning comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC for March 15th. Devro, what is your pick of the week?
Probably what's up right now, Star Wars Battlefront Classic.
Yes. Yes, that's my pick of the week. This is a game that I'm most likely going to be buying this week. I'll play it in my downtime when my PS5 controller's charging because I'm playing Final Fantasy right now.
Okay.
Dude, I'm so happy these games are coming to modern consoles. 64-player multiplayer. That alone is going to blow my mind because I used to play this game completely single player. I didn't have the internet connection for the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't know if it had that for the PS2. The PC version had internet online multiplayer. I don't know if the PS2 version even had that. But regardless, this is something that I'm really interested in getting into. These games are incredible. It's to this day, it'll always blow my mind that EA really couldn't put out games that were as good as these. Because these games are phenomenal. It's the whole package. The store, both campaigns are there. Multiplayer maps are there. All the PC material and content is there. So for me, it's new content. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's my pick of the week. It's something I'm definitely going to be buying. I think right now on Xbox and PlayStation, it's actually at a 10% discount. I don't know if that's just while you pre-order it. So if you want to save a couple bucks, just pre-order it now. I'll probably do that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my pick for the week. Very excited to play this. Like I said, in the meantime, I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I have started it. I'm about 6 hours in.
Okay.
I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
The open world is gorgeous. I'm playing it and I'm really impressed with just how real the world feels.
Yeah, I heard that it's very impressive.
It's so impressive. I'll just say it. It's more impressive than Breath of the Wild's world.
That's what people were saying.
If you are impressed by the living world that is Breath of the Wild, you need to go and walk around this world. So I'm not gonna spoil anything, but after the prologue, where you start in one of the towns.
Yeah.
Not gonna say which, just for spoiler's sake. And I'm walking around this town, and it's just it's so lived in. I'm what is going on here? This feels like a real place.
Yeah. So the only reason I found that out is because I found out two things. One, I found out when I was at Forrest's house. Daisy was playing it. She told me something that's really cool about the story that I want to ask you about. But the first thing is, when you and Ty sent that article about oh, we couldn't have made this game if it wasn't exclusive, I thought that was kind of weird. So I was reading about it, and they were saying things oh, 80% of our team got to stay on the game, which I thought that was a normal thing for game developers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then I saw but because of that, our world was able to be this big and this expansive, and everybody's praising the world, despite how you feel about the game. They were saying this world is amazing. I have no context to it. I want to maybe watch you play a little bit one day.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's really cool.
Dude,
even if you're impressed, that makes me even more
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. So it was weird because the reviews came out and the game's at a 93 on Metacritic, right? And but I've never heard of a game rated so highly that I feel people are very negative on. A lot of the reviews I watched and listened to and stuff, they're oh, this is a great game, it's a 9 out of 10, but here's 7 or 8 things I just didn't like about it.
Okay.
And I thought it was really weird. And so playing 6 hours, I'm only 6 hours in, very early, but I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. It is a very exploration based game. It seems like it is a lot of
But I like those kinds. So.
Yeah, but it's
it's still.
It's kind of mainline. It's hey, look, there are towers. You go to the towers, you open up the tower, and it shows you all the stuff to do around the tower in that part of the map. It's one of those games. Like,
Okay.
it is. And if you don't like that, you're probably going to be annoyed by this game. But I'm not that kind of person. I don't mind those games.
And it doesn't feel too forced at all. Like you're saying, you're
So
saying like
here's the thing. All that stuff is side stuff. The main stuff is still go to point to point to point and do stuff. But I mean, I'm also
you're just having fun doing the stuff along the way.
I'm enjoying it. I think it's really good. Some of the stuff has unlocked some world lore, which is good. Some of it is like kind of like challenges. The gameplay is really. I mean, it's just like Final Fantasy VII Remake's gameplay, so it's very like engaging. It's a very engaging gameplay.
It's
like
it's kind of turn based, but not turn
like when I played Final Fantasy 16. I got so fucking bored of Final Fantasy 16.
You were telling me.
Because I was just like, I'm just
you weren't
going.
putting much thought into it.
Like, the side quests aren't very good, and I'm just slashing. I'm tapping X. Just tapping X. Or, I'm sorry, square. Tapping square. Tapping square. Not really going anywhere with it. But playing Rebirth, like, it's the Final Fantasy VII Remake gameplay that's very engaging. Like, if you don't focus, you're not going to do well. So you need to stay very, like, I'm focused on what I'm doing my abilities, having people do stuff. I think the gameplay is engaging. It's a lot of fun. I'm, again, very early in, but I'm really intrigued to kind of interact with the characters in the group. As, like, the first time I played Final Fantasy VII, like, I'd kept my squad generally the same, where it was Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
I love Tifa, I love Barrett. In this game, though, like, there's definitely more opportunity to kind of get to know the other characters, like Yuffie and Red 13 and stuff like that.
And it gives you a reason to?
Well, it's, like, not even just that, but, like, there's, like, a relationship system in the game, it seems. Again, very early. I don't know how the extent of it. But, like, they show you very early in the game, like, hey, like, you'll be talking to all these characters throughout your journey. And, like, what you say will affect how they feel about you. And, like, and that can lead up to stuff. Again, I'm so early that it's just, it's very base impressions. But I'll say this, the world's beautiful. If you liked the gameplay in the first 7 remake, you'll like it here. It's just as good.
Okay.
I do wonder, I liked the prologue. The prologue was great because it kind of, it tells a key part of the Final Fantasy VII story, and it kind of just gets it right out of the way, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because I've heard that the story for some of the reviewers was kind of inconsequential. But, I mean, I'll have to see for myself where I go with it. But okay. I'm enjoying it a lot right now.
I had a question, but I'm going to ask you off stream because it might be too spoilery.
Okay.
But...
All right. Well, let's get to that question. This has been episode 57 of the Game Room Podcast. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us here tonight in the chat. Thank you, Jeffrey Vegas was here, Ty, Forrest, the Coog stopped by. Really appreciate that from everyone. We went up to about, I think, at one point I thought I saw 7.
Nice.
So I really appreciate that, everyone hanging out. Hopefully you hit the like button. We're up to 5 likes right now. For those of you who are still here with us, if you could hit the like button if you forgot or you didn't get a chance to, I would really appreciate that. So with Dev, you can join our Discord, which is in the description below, where we're always talking about video games of all kinds, just having a great time there. If you like wrestling, you can check out my pro wrestling podcast channel along with Jeffrey Vegas at the Broken Tables Podcast. It's a big week for us. Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, is going to be on AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, so that's really exciting. It's going to be an exciting show. Other than that, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. I guess we're in the room, so thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, bye guys.